everyone, welcome to our Some Awesome Minecraft 1.9 Combat Update Overview. We're going to go over all of the changes that are coming up, and we're going to do it as quick as we can so you can get in and enjoy the new update. The first thing we're going to go over is our new dominant hand option. You can now select your preference for right or left-handed under the skin customization option in your menu. Along with this, we now actually have the ability to dual wield. We have two hands now in the game, which allows us faster placement of torches while we're mining, or you can even hold a shield and attack. You can't actually use both buttons at the exact same time, but if you're quick enough pushing those buttons together, it does give you a little bit of a dual action. Most of the time, though, you do have to use them separate. To work these, your main hand item will need to be a left click item, and your off hand item, which is that second hand, will need to be a right click item. To quickly swap the items in your hands, you just push that F key, and you can even go dual offensive with a sword in your main hand and a bow in your off hand. You may have also noticed that we have a little indicator right next to the crosshair that keeps refilling every time I swipe that sword. That is our new attack strength indicator, and you will need to get that fully charged up to get your full attack strength back the next time you swing your sword. If you try to swing it too quickly, you will have a much weaker attack when you're fighting off those mobs. A great addition is that when you are holding a map in either your offhand slot or while dual wielding, it will show in a miniature version, thereby not blocking your view as you fill it out. Although if you do hold it in your main hand, it will still return to its much larger version. Here's the crafting recipe for the shield, and this will give you that basic wood texture. Shields are great for blocking attacks, most especially those of projectiles, and arrows can even ricochet off and have a potential of hitting other targets. They can only be enchanted on an anvil with unbreaking, and while being attacked by an axe, they have a possibility of being disabled for 5 seconds. To add a design to your shield, all you have to do is add a banner of your choice, which of course means that on Nunu we can add any of our team banners and have some fun team-inspired shields. Now once you do have one design on there, unfortunately you cannot change that one. You would need to create a new shield and add a new banner. Moving on to one of our new offensive items is the spectral arrow. To get two, you craft an arrow with 4 glowstone dust, and it's really cool when you attack a mob, they now have this glowing outline that can even be seen through solid blocks. If the mob or an opposing player happens to be on a team that is assigned a color, their glow will actually reflect the color of their team. Tipped arrows are next. There's one type for every potion type. The entity shot will receive the associated potion effect. However, for any with a duration, that time will only be 1/8 of the standard potion time. You're able to craft 8 tipped arrows for every lingering potion, which is great because both the spectral and tipped arrows unfortunately ignore the infinity enchantments on your bow. The attack speed and damage of all tools have been rebalanced, so while the axe may now be stronger, the sword has the better DPS because of its increased attack speed. Diving into the end, we find some massive changes to our PC version, which now reflects the console edition with its circle of towers and caged ender crystals on a few of those. Speaking of the ender crystals, we now have the ability to craft them, which actually aids in resummoning the dragon after the initial fight. Placing one on each side of the exit portal, these 4 ender crystals now initiate the respawning process for the dragon. They rebuild the towers, respawn the crystals, and then power up that dragon so he comes back to life. The dragon switches between circling the outer towers and perching on the inactive exit portal. While there, he is immune to arrows, so the player must get dangerously close for a melee attack. He has a couple new attacks in his arsenal, including Dragon's Breath while he is perched, and an Ender Acid charge, which looks like a purple fire charge, both of which leave a lingering cloud of Dragon's Breath, which is harmful to the player, but can be collected in glass bottles to use that Dragon's Breath in your brewing. Upon death, he is once again over the exit portal, which reactivates, and a magenta beam can be seen from a new end gateway. A maximum of 20 of these end gateways can be generated with the respawning and killing of the dragon, and each of these will actually lead to different locations among the new outer islands of the end. While most players will hope to pop out and see an end city and end ship immediately outside their portal, you're more likely to find just endless islands of chorus plants. And occasionally you'll have to watch your step because you could be on the very edge of an end island. The only way to grow chorus plants is to harvest the chorus flowers directly from the top of the mature trees and plant them on end stone. The flowers will not drop with the rest of the plant when it is knocked down via the lower blocks. The plant does drop chorus fruit, which can be used both as a food and when smelted in a furnace can be used as a building block. You can eat the chorus fruit whether you're hungry or not, and when doing so, it teleports you randomly to a nearby location. Unfortunately, there is no control over where you will land. Smelt them in a furnace and you'll get popped chorus fruit, which can be used for crafting the new purpur blocks. There are varieties of these, each in steps, slabs, and you can use those slabs to make a pillar variety as well. Endstone also has a new variation in crafting endstone bricks. We also have a new light source, the end rod, crafted from popped chorus root and blaze rods. These are actually tangible and cannot be walked through like torches. They can be placed on any side of a surface and even on each other and will alternate their base versus top end. These new blocks are the building blocks for the new naturally occurring end cities and end ships in the outer islands of the end. The most exciting part about these ships is the rare loot that you can find. We have a dragon head on the bow of the ship, and inside you'll find the elytra gliding wings. Just be wary as you explore these new structures, as we have a new mob hiding in plain sight guarding them. The shulker opens his shell to shoot projectiles at you, and not only do they do some damage, but they will also levitate you high above the ground, where you can then take either fall damage or die upon impact. The dragon head is animated. It can receive power from redstone, levers, or buttons, and will pause animation as soon as that redstone signal stops. Like other heads, it's also wearable and will animate while you walk. The elytra will be placed in the chest plate slot and can be easily repaired with a maximum of 4 leather. While in the air, press spacebar to activate the elytra's gliding, and while you can land safely if you glide slowly down, you will definitely take fall damage from nose diving and can even take horizontal collision damage with a new death message, player experienced kinetic energy. If you happen to own a cape, the elytra will take on the texture and design of the cape that you have activated at the time. While it does get you safely to the ground, it is basically a hang glider, so you will not be able to fly upwards. Igloos can now generate in ice plains and cold taiga biomes. They have a cute little room inside and occasionally even have a secret basement below this trap door. Head on down that ladder and you will find a small setup with a villager, zombie villager, and even within that brewing stand and chest, the ability to cure your zombie villager. A few of these igloos do generate without that basement, which you'll be able to see as soon as you remove the carpet square. Strongholds are no longer limited to 3 per world within a few thousand blocks of the origin, but now can spawn up to 128 per world. They will only be created in 1.9 chunks and will not be able to backfill into already generated world sections. Loot tables have been completely revamped, and now the chests will not generate their loot until opened by a player in survival, creative, or adventure modes. The enchanted golden apple or notch apple can no longer be crafted and is now only loot. The achievement for overpowered requires you to eat the apple instead of crafting it. When a tamed ocelot or wolf dies, there will now be a message in the chat to say how. Mobs have had a lot of changes to them, including they're supposed to avoid cacti and fire now, although this appears to still be bugged. They give off brown heart particles when attacked. Hostile mobs have a 5% chance of spawning left-handed, and most mobs have had size adjustments. Skeletons are a lot more formidable now. They're not only more animated, but can strafe and shoot at the same time, and if the player gets too close, they will actually back up to find shelter. Wearable mob heads now act as a bit of a disguise when going up against a matching mob. You'll be able to get twice as close before being detected and attacked. Natural lightning strikes have a chance of spawning horses. However, don't be fooled, these are actually skeleton traps. As soon as the player is close enough, They split into 4 enchanted armored skeletons riding skeletal horses. If you thought regular skeletons chasing you down were bad enough, wait till you have a pack of these guys coming after you. If you manage to kill off all the riders but not the steeds, you now have your own naturally spawned tame skeletal horse. Zombie villagers now wear the clothing of their profession. That's right, they've already got their profession assigned to them while a zombie. This does mean, however, that you cannot reinfect them to change profession. Elders and guardians now have better loot drop chances on crystals. Rabbits are now color specific to the biome that they spawn in, and pigs and chickens now have a wider variety of items they will eat. Endermen will now drop any blocks they're holding when killed. The Ender Pearls can now be used in creative mode, but also have a cooldown timer to make you wait a little bit between each use. When fighting multiple bosses, we now have multiple boss health bars. The dragon and withers even have their own colors. If mob griefing is turned off, you will no longer be able to snow farm from golems, as they will not leave snow trails behind them. For a little fun, you can remove your snow golem's pumpkin head with a pair of shears, however it will not drop the pumpkin. Clerics no longer trade for Eyes of Ender, but will only trade for Ender Pearls. Also, the librarians are supposed to charge about double for the new treasure enchantments, which of course are Mending and Frostwalker. A treasure enchantment means it is not available on enchanting table, but must be found, fished, or traded. Frostwalker goes on your boots and creates a frosted ice block as you run across open water. This frosted ice block does actually start to break and is an unobtainable block. Any item with a durability can have mending added to it on an anvil. When active, it uses any XP points you receive to automatically repair your items as you go. Items in your hand and armor slots count as active. We now have beetroots from Pocket Edition. These are planted on farmland. You can make beetroot soup or rose red dye from them. Shovels now have a right-click ability on grass to make grass paths. These are slightly lower, just like soul sand. That dragon's breath we got from the end is used to brew lingering potions. These are used like splash potions thrown at the ground, but will leave a cloud behind where multiple players can make use of them, and are used in crafting the tipped arrows. You've probably noticed the blaze powder slot on the brewing stand. It is now used to fuel your brewing and has 20 uses per powder. This is our splash water bottle, which is now handy in fighting fire spots and will actually extinguish a little plus design of blocks. Which is great because rain no longer has a 100% chance of extinguishing fire, but varies between 20 to 60%. You can no longer put silk touch on shears, but that's okay because cobwebs will always drop with shears. Boats now come in all the wood colors and can even have a passenger along with you. Boat movement has been changed. You'll still press W to go forward, but your left and right buttons will turn you. Looking around is done with the mouse, but will not actually turn your boat for you as you look. Some will find third-person view easier for navigating. Hay bales can save you from fall damage. A player without armor can fall from as many as 100 blocks without dying. We have 3 new status effects: levitation from shulkers, glowing from spectral arrows, and luck. We also have these handy icons up in the upper right of your screen that show the positive and negative effects that you currently have on. Luck isn't a brewable potion, but is in the creative menu. It affects your loot chances for any previously unopened loot chests. Iron bars and glass panes no longer make a plus when not connected to something, but have more of the end rod shape to them. Lily pads can be placed on ice but not packed ice. And trap doors no longer need a supporting block. Unextended pistons, downward-facing pistons, and upward-facing extended pistons are now considered to have a solid surface, which means mobs can spawn. Dead bushes have a chance of dropping sticks, and now you can see yourself when sleeping in a bed. Fishing rods now have an animation in the hotbar. You can no longer hook onto entities for knockback or pseudo damage. However, the lure enchantment no longer affects the chances of catching things, but only the delay, and both Luck of the Sea and the new Luck effect will once again help with the loot you get from fishing. Doors have had some very slight color adjustments, and you can now choose which way that door opens and closes, depending on which side of the block you place it against. However, 2 doors of the same color will always join together, and if there are no wall blocks on one side, the hinges will always go against the existing wall blocks. Pick block is now available to survival mode players as long as the blocks you are trying to select are in your inventory at the time. Death messages are now displayed on your death screen, so if you go AFK and come back dead, you won't have to wonder what happened. The debug screen available via the F3 option now has a lot more information, and they also have a lot of other keyboard shortcut options which you can find by pressing F3 and Q. A lot of new sounds have been added and others replaced, and along with this we have a new subtitles option, which acts as a closed captioning for either the hearing or speaker impaired. A few new statistics are being tracked, including how many times you've picked up or dropped items. The single-player world selection screen now looks a lot like the server selection screen and even will warn you when the version you're playing is different than the last version the world was played in. This has been our Some Awesome Minecraft 1.9 overview. Our list is geared more towards our server community for anyone interested in the full list of changes, including those available to server admins or on a single player world, such as with command blocks. Click the link below.